All right, guys, welcome to another video with Wasay, our real estate expert here in the UAE. And in this video, we're going to go through the entire process of buying a property. Wasay, thank you again for being in another one of our videos.
No worries.
And as we just said, we want to go through the whole process of buying a property.
Yeah.
And also, if we could go through like whether there's a difference between it being like a resident or non-resident, or a local national,
Yeah.
or some different nationality having different terms.
Yeah.
So talk us through it. I want to buy a property. What do I do?
Okay. First of all, what kind of property do you want to buy?
I want to buy a one-bedroom apartment.
Okay, that's nice. Is the one-bedroom apartment off plan or secondary?
Secondary. I want to buy it and maybe rent it out or live in it.
Cool. Are you buying it on cash or are you financing it?
I'm financing it.
Are you pre-approved? These are questions that I ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, go
completely pre-approved? Is
through
it?
it.
It's not.
Pre-approved? I don't know.
Yo.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I have a guy that's in mortgage, a mortgage guy. Pre-approval basically means that all your criteria kind of check out and you are pre-approved for mortgage. Of course, it's inclusive of your salary on a monthly basis, and then they give you an estimate of how much, what's the maximum loan amount that the bank could give you. That's what pre-approval is.
Okay. So like getting approval for any loan, basically.
Basically,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
And you have to do that like before you come to the country, or you do it in the country, or like how does it work?
No, you could do it whenever.
Or your credit score is just good enough? Or?
Yeah. You could do it whenever. What I would recommend before locking in a property, have your pre-approval ready. A mistake that some buyers make is without going through a pre-approval, they just go in, buy the property, get the memorandum of understanding signed, the MOU, which is a binding contract, also known as the Form F in Dubai, and usually the contract's duration is for 2 or 3 months, and you got to understand the sellers are not going to wait all that time as well. They're eagerly waiting to get their cash to them. But then when you're not pre-approved, that takes an extra 1 or 2 weeks in the time that the MOU has been signed, and that just delays the process usually.
And
So
they don't know you could get rejected.
Exactly.
They lose the sale.
Exactly. And it's a little risky for you as a buyer as well, because you need to put down a deposit of 10%, and if the terms and conditions are usually listed. If, for example, you back out of the deal, you forfeit that 10% as a deposit. And you don't want to be in that position. It's just a messy situation. So get a pre-approval beforehand. You don't have to really be in the country to get a pre-approval.
So any bank in another country,
Yeah,
or whatever?
no. Any bank in this country, in the
Okay.
UAE's country, as long as you have a bank account
Okay.
with them.
So you have to have a bank account in the country before you do any of it?
You should potentially have a bank account in the
And
country.
usually the banks here are quite like easy
Lenient,
to
yeah.
make an account, because they know there's many foreign investors all the time.
Yeah. They're lenient, right?
Yeah.
Pre-approval as a resident is, of course, easier than a non-resident. A resident that is a salaried resident could take up to 5 to 7 days, and they will get a pre-approval. For someone that's non-salaried, sometimes it takes 2 weeks to a month.
There's not like a fixed income.
yeah,
sometimes,
like the
or
consistent
yeah.
income factor.
And I think if you own like assets, especially like in like high value assets, that can usually help as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, they
Because you
look
can
at.
put them as collateral or something.
Yeah. They look at your entire stance when it comes to your financial capabilities, I guess.
Okay, so let's say I've got the pre-approval.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, then you hit up an agent that you trust. Who could that be?
Link in the description.
Yeah. And then, we sit down, we go through your requirements, what exactly it is that you're hoping to achieve. Are you leaning more towards capital appreciation? Do you want rental return? Do you want the rent to pay for your monthly EMIs? And then when the property appreciates, you sell it later on. What exactly your objectives are. Once we narrow down on your objective, we then ask the difficult questions like how much cash on hand and stuff you have. Based off of that, we can get to searching for a property.
And the agent does that usually, or does the person buying also like search and then show the agent? It's just like a thing, like both people just look around.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it both ways. I've done this so many times in different ways. I'll give you an example. One example is a person was looking on the property portals, saw a property they liked, contacted me because I was a listing agent at the time, and then they were like, "Well, say we want this, we want to view this." They viewed it, liked it, bought it on the spot. That's one way. Another way is referrals, right? I have people that have bought properties from me or through me, I guess, and then those people have referred me to other people. They come to me, they go like, "Well, say this is our requirement, this is what we're looking for in this area." And for me, I primarily work with investors on the off-plan department. Being in the industry long enough, I have people in every single community that you could think of, and these are trusted people because I vet them a lot because at the end of the day, it's my reputation on the line. And
saves the buyer a lot of headache.
well, yeah,
to find a trusted agent, and there's so many agents here.
Exactly. There's so many agents over here. So yeah, exactly. So and then that person later on does his work, whatever. We present the property to the buyer. If the numbers add up, if it makes sense from an investor or end user perspective, whatever it is, then we proceed with it.
And then what does that include?
Yeah. So what we do is we give a formal offer. It includes a picture of the deposit check, which is 10% of the value of the entire property. And then, some negotiation always happens, of course, because the buyer is never going to show up to the secondary market and be like, yeah, I want it at this price, right? There's a little bit of negotiation. It depends on how well priced the property is that's on the market. And after that, they agree on it. They sign the Form F, which is also known as the MOU. Everything is done digitally in Dubai. So it goes to the seller, goes to the buyer. Both of them need to, accept it or click the link or e-sign. And then the contract is binding. Terms and conditions of the contract.
So now if you back out, you lose your deposit, basically. That's
Terms and conditions obviously apply. For example, if a buyer goes in without a pre-approval, a condition in the MOU that he would want to put in would be that if I don't get the pre-approval, then I can back out with ease, which a lot of sellers are not really keen on because then you just wasted 2 or 3 weeks of their time, right?
And,
potential
and
time
the
of them.
time and everyone's
Exactly,
time,
of selling property. So that happens, and then after the MOU is done, then it comes down to, is it a cash-to-cash deal? Is it a cash-to-finance deal? Is it a finance-to-cash deal? Or is it a finance-to-finance deal, right? So let's take like the most difficult process, which is a finance-to-finance. So you're financed. The seller has also been paying his property through finance, and he's not done paying it. So what happens is that your bank needs to somehow reimburse his bank. There's a couple of charges, minimal, not really that much, that goes through that. But before all of that happens, after the MOU is signed, the property goes through a valuation. Has to be done. A valuation has to be done. It's usually a third party that the bank assigns. The bank doesn't directly do the valuations. A third party that the bank assigned goes in there, gives their valuation. The figure should be relatively close, if not exactly at the selling price, and then you go from there.
So if the selling price is like way more or way less, then is it like they have to look into it? Is there some fraud or something like that?
No, it's not. It's not really about fraud. It's about, you got to think of it from a bank's perspective, right? The bank is taking liability by loaning you money against the asset, right?
Yeah.
Now, what usually happens is that there's a clause that says if the property value,
they repossess it if you don't pay.
No. This is in the beginning stages. We're doing the process of buying a property, not holding it. So what usually happens is that if the property is above 10% if the property is valued, like after the valuation, if the valuation comes out at 10% above the property price, then the seller has the right to back out. And if the property is 10% below the purchase price, if the actual value is 10%, more than 10% below the actual price, then the buyer has a right to back out. And the reason the buyer has a right to back out is because it's against that value that the bank is going to loan you the money, not on the selling price. So the other 10%, you now have to incorporate that into your down payment. So
okay, so you have to make up for whatever the bank's not giving.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So wouldn't be lucrative for the buyer from that perspective.
Okay. So then let's say we've signed this agreement and everything.
Yeah.
And then what? Now I get the title deed in my name?
Yeah, exactly. So once the whole process of like the finance to finance is done, You then go to the transfer office, the trustee office with the seller. Now, the buyer needs to be in the country in order to be able to do that, or he could assign a POA to go on his behalf. You go there, the transfer is done, they take signatures from you and the buyer and the seller, and then at the transfer is when, let's say there's any outstanding service charges or anything like that, the seller has to reimburse the buyer if he hasn't paid yet until the time of transfer, or the buyer has to reimburse the seller if the seller has paid in advance for, I don't know, the next quarter or something like that. All the charges are cleared, and then that's it. The buyer then later on gets the title deed online on his REST application, which is the Dubai real estate application.
Okay, and then does the buyer have to transfer like the DIWA and bills and this kind of stuff to their name before they can ever like use it or go in it or something?
Yeah. The buyer would have to ultimately transfer the DIWA and stuff to their name. Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask is, any payments that are made are always on paper checks, or is there bank transfers?
It could be done via bank transfers. The reason that they do manager's check is because it's so much more confusing, because a bank transfer would basically mean that if I transfer the money now, then I can give you the receipt against it, but it takes like a few days for it to reflect in the other person's account, and people don't want that. Also, cash can be allowed as well if the seller agrees to it.
You mean paper cash?
Yeah, paper cash. Like hard cash can be allowed if the seller agrees to it, but many a times the sellers will not agree to it. Yeah, exactly. So the most convenient way and the most used method is a manager's check, which is not like the normal check, because a manager's check is technically cash on a paper. The seller, once he gets it, he goes to the bank, deposits it, and then that money is immediately reflected in his account.
Okay, so they should have their checkbooks just in case, right? Or is the manager's check completely different?
Yeah, manager's check is completely different.
The bank just gives it to you or something?
You need to go to the bank and get the manager's check,
Is off-plan like completely different?
Off-plan is completely different.
Okay, well, how do you do it in off-plan?
In off-plan...
Like, what's the difference?
Okay, let me just get to the part. In off-plan, let's say you like a project and a property we never done on a unit, you need to pay a booking amount to book that unit so that nobody else can take it from the inventory that the developer has left. Usually within 2 to 4 weeks of that booking amount, you need to pay the rest of the down payment. Now, the down payment in Dubai is usually around 20%. Now it's 10%. They're trying to be more flexible. In Abu Dhabi, it's actually 5%.
Oh, wow.
So after you hit the 20% mark, you get the SPA, which is a sales and purchase agreement. You sign the SPA, you get the Okud, which is considered a pre-title deed, enforcing the fact that the property is on your name, and then you continue with the payment plans that you agreed with the developer on until handover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that's different?
I mean, it is, the entire thing is completely different. So yeah.
But you covered like the main part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and you specialize mainly in off-plan?
I specialize mainly in off-plan for investors, but I have helped a lot of end users. Like, I do end users and investors. I'm just a numbers guy, so I guess I lean more towards investors, and mostly foreign investors. In off-plan, when you're getting a property or when you're putting a down payment against a property, you actually do not need to be in the country. I've had a few clients that didn't even come to the country. Like, they didn't even view the project. They didn't even go to the sales office or whatever. You know,
for them, it's just a numbers game too.
Just on the phone. We went to like a mock apartment because they usually have a show apartment there. We went in there, showed them videos of what the quality would be like. They were like, yeah, we like it. That's it. They just transfer the money from there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for covering both types. And that's all for this video. Make sure you like and comment and subscribe and ask any questions you have below. And make sure you follow Wasay and check out his Instagram and reach out to him if you need anything on there as well. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.